Alright, hello there. My name is Sammy and welcome to the next part in my Stream Theory playthrough of Half-Life 2 Episode 2, where I will be playing the game live while also providing analysis and commentary as I go. It's gonna keep going here, might as well keep moving. There's no reason why I shouldn't try and just keep driving.
We're picking up something on the radar.
Same time, I'm also... It hasn't really been a while since I streamed last, but...
According to the radar, it looks like there's...
Supply cache, okay. It hasn't really been a long time since I streamed last, but it kind of feels like it, so... I almost like really need to get my bearings again, relearn what I need to do in order to just simply play the game and go forward. So... it's not that long. I am getting reacquainted fairly quickly because it's a little bit like riding a bike or picking up a language that you haven't spoken in a while. In this case, it's only been like a week since I played last, so it's like picking up an experience I haven't practiced in that amount of time. Alright, so I had a major encounter there where we had to get our car fixed and went through like a minefield of zombies and did a whole bunch of stuff. Boss battle against a helicopter. It's all coming back to me now. Now we've been outfitted with this radar on our car that picks up ammo caches and whatnot in the area. So I think what I need to do here is blow these up. Let's get the heck out of here. Let this happen. Alright, so that opened up this car area here, and now pull out. There we go. Looks like I'm all full up on the ammo, but I could use this energy. Right now, this is basically teaching me all about, or the game, I'm talking about the game is teaching me how these ammo caches work. Scattered throughout the path ahead of me will be these ammo caches that I have to use my car, or stop my car in order to get those ammo caches. Now, I don't necessarily need to stop every single time, but, it'll, if I'm ever running out of stuff, or if I'm just feeling like a completionist, I want to explore the entire area, then it's in my interest to want to just, essentially stop and smell the roses. Alright, so, yeah, I guess I'll do that. It'll give me more time to talk about the game. I don't want to just run these guys over every single time or like, not care.
Nice move.
Yeah, I can... It's kind of fun running these guys over. Let's see, any ammo caches around here? Aha, here's one. Make sure I'm all clear for this. Maybe I should kill a few of these in my immediate vicinity.
What's that? Something on the radar.
Alright, so coming back, it's a good thing, every time I pause the stream, for end one part to begin the next part in a transitionary period in the game, because then the transitionary period allows me to learn new things that I'm going to be learning anyway. So even if I continued from that point, didn't stop the stream, I just continued on, it would have still been a transitionary period. Going from essentially one level to the next, even though the transition in the game is fairly seamless, the content matter is somewhat different. The way the level works and the pacing, since we're going to a more driving-oriented one, in which we're investigating these caches, it's essentially a different kind of experience than what preceded it. So even if I've had a brief break from the game, it's essentially the perfect time to take that break, or at least as far as the part of the game is concerned, because I am essentially relearning, or if the game was going to teach me something new, or a new style or rhythm of gameplay. In this case, it is investigating these caches that we haven't seen before anyway. So now I have to. Each cache is definitely optional, but see how this gives me a neat little puzzle to try and accomplish. There's a little room here. It's all self-contained. I mean, I could totally ignore this and keep going along the road if I wanted to. But, you know, as far as experiencing everything the game has to offer, I might as well give that a shot. Alright, so, just for reading this room, you know, investigating these caches, I'm learning the language, you know, of how the game wants me to try and approach this. So, you know, observe and then try and figure it out is what I'm trying to do right here. This room is giving me a lot of clues. See, the fact that there's an ammo cache full of grenades tells me I probably need to use grenades in order to solve this puzzle. And you can sort of see other clues here, like that dude over there, probably going to have to, you know, go in a similar trajectory as that dead guy up there. Which means I'm probably going to be flying up there. I mean, that's the only way I would be able to get up there anyway. So grenades, you know, combined with the flying and these, you know, blast marks, like maybe the grenade has to explode over here. And you can sort of put everything together from that point. So I you know, did that wrong because I need to put the grenade underneath it, but let's see. Let's try to get that grenade underneath. Yeah, there we go. Let's see if this works. Alright. Grenade sent me flying. Oh, I fell back again, but at least I know exactly how this puzzle works. So you can see that even though it's been a while for me, I can, because of the specific point in the game that I decided to make that transition, or because I took that break in streaming during the transition in the game, the natural transition in the game that allowed me to get back in organically, because I'm already going to learn something new anyway. Alright, here we go. So don't fall this time. I know this is not a complete platform. Well, that's another thing I could talk about, besides the whole me taking a small break, just for 1 week where I'm not streaming. I mean, that was basically because of the New Year holiday. I wasn't going to stream on the holiday to do, you know, family stuff and whatnot. Just like on Christmas holiday as well, didn't stream then. But continuing on, I can also talk about another topic that brings up another topic in which talk about when you do take breaks from a game, when you for some reason you stop playing, and you know, reasons for not playing a game is an entirely different topic other than what I'm trying to talk about, which is not necessarily the reasons for leaving a game, but coming back in, and how you could come back into a game that you haven't played for a while. So, alright. Okay, now that I've done that, this is obvious solution. The whole hard part was figuring this out. Coming back into a game can be a little tricky, and the longer that you've taken a break from a game, you know, the harder it is essentially to get back in. And I think also another determining factor is how far you've gotten into the game. Because the longer you've gotten into a game, the more essentially it has taught you about how to interact with it. The game itself, the more the very act of playing a game and interacting with a game also involves learning how to interact with it. And you know, that's an entirely different topic as well, like just the language of playing a game. But hey, this whole puzzle, by the way, we also got an entirely new weapon. I mean, I guess we get the rocket launcher earlier than normal just by doing this puzzle. Right, so there we go. Solved that one.
Rocket launcher. That'll come in handy.
As far as getting back into a game, yeah, there are two factors: the amount of time you were away from the game, and also the length of time you played it. And I guess the longer both of those things are, the harder it is for you to just really get back into a game that you've taken a break from. Let's try and just, might as well just save ammo and use the gravity gun as a means of taking these guys out. So really it's about, as I said earlier in the stream, it's about trying to pick up, it's almost like learning how to speak a language that you haven't spoken in a while, and I guess it's a very particular type of language, because it's not a spoken language, it is a video game language. You need to remember how to interact with the game.
What do you think, Gordon?
Yeah, I know there were two radar marks, so I know one of them was also here, so we're stopping for two different areas. Let's see, there's way up here. See a nice overview of the area. Also, so I know there's a cache here somewhere. So I guess when you take a break from a game, what happens? Like, I guess you have two options. You can either, well, you either try your best to get back in, or you. There it is. See, like, one of the things the game's taught you is, you know, using the gravity gun to pick up these saws, right, and use them as weapons. So naturally, you could be inclined to pick that up, and then you essentially solve the puzzle, open up the cache. All right. So let's try and deal with these things. There we go. I'll try to talk while doing this puzzle. It'll be difficult, but let's see if I can do it. Alright. How about we use some explosives here? Any other? I think I hear something. Aha. Alright. Now, so trying to do a complex, well, a somewhat complex discussion while I obliterate some zombies. So, okay, those were the two caches. I investigated both of them and got a few things out of it. It's nice. Let's see. I'm trying to just look for some little energy because I lost some of that energy. That's fine. I did gain some weaponry. All right, so when you leave a game, you can try your best to get back in, or you can just give up entirely. I think one possible solution is just, well, not necessarily giving up, but understanding the fact that it might be too difficult to get back in the game and try to relearn what the game has taught you. That you might want to pick it up at a later time and just start over completely from the beginning, and you know, let the game's natural ramp up of learning its own interactivity, how you experience the game, you know, start from the beginning where it makes sense, instead of trying to, say, recreate on your own. That learning ramp up, that tutorial up to that point, trying to recall that and doing your best to get back in. You see some glimpses of some stuff over there. So the question is, it really depends on the game and how difficult. Each game gives you can be more or less difficult. See, there's a cache nearby. I'm gonna investigate that. Each game can be more or less difficult to try and relearn as you get back in, and the later you are in the game, when you abandon it, trying to come back in can be more difficult as well, because that's a lot of learning to try and catch up on or recall, remember. Also a lot of, here's the cache, found it fairly easily, and let's see, a lot of health. A lot of this is not necessarily for the cache itself, it can just be for the experience of discovery, of exploration and all that. Being able to get all the caches. So let's see a few examples. I think Dark Souls. I think I may have actually discussed a similar topic or the same topic when I was playing Dark Souls. Dark Souls for me was one example in which I played it for several hours and then stopped playing for a few months actually. So I got fairly a significant portion into the game. Alright, there's no, let's see, here there's no cache, but I just want to investigate a little bit and see some structures.
This could be Combine handiwork.
Yeah, we're seeing some dialogue here because I'm taking the time to explore.
To die out here.
So, the example of Dark Souls, I did take a break for a few months, even after a significant playthrough of the game, several hours, at least longer than 10 hours, I would say, I played before I took a break from the game. And then but I did manage to get back in. I think that's the important distinction here, is that despite taking the break, I was able to recall all the complex teachings that the game tried to instill in me, how to approach it, how to play it. And as far as games go, Dark Souls is one of the more difficult ones to try and pick back up because of how challenging it is. Like, you really need to get into the rhythm of that game in order to properly manage your interaction there, how you're playing it, how you're approaching the various levels. Alright, let's try and get back down there. Might as well take the car. So, you know, it's even after a long time and after several months of not playing a game, it is not impossible to get back in. I mean, that's just, especially with Dark Souls, it's very improbable for me to have gotten back in, but I eventually, you know, made myself get back in without having to start over and experience the rest of the game. From then on, I didn't take any more breaks. I just played the game all the way to the end. And I think my main motivation for getting back in was the next game, the sequel was coming out, Dark Souls 2. And I wanted to make sure I experienced Dark Souls 1 before I started playing Dark Souls 2. So that's a pretty good motivating factor. Try and fulfill my experience of a new game by making sure I play the original. Like, I wanted to make sure I had enough knowledge. Ooh, okay.
It's a trap! Gordon, come
It's a trap! Alright, let's get inside. As she said. So, unexpected combat. Let's try and deal with this as best we can. So I'm not sure how well I can actually discuss stuff, but I will do my best. Maybe I just want to I just want to deal with this before I discuss everything more. Maybe I'll do some concluding remarks on oh, we have a hunter too. That's gonna complicate things. How about a shotgun? That seems useful. Sniper as well. Shotgun and sniper. The enemies here. Aha. Man, I love this sniper. I'm not sure if I'm gonna get anything with that, but a shot. I guess we're just trying to survive this onslaught here. So it looks like I can shoot through the barrier, but I can't. Oh, there's a hunter. It is.
They're still after the data core.
Oh man, where's my shotgun when I need it? There it is. Sometimes I can get caught on the wrong weapon and puts me in a tough position. Gotta make sure. Aha. Gonna follow me down here? Not sure if it will. Aha, yeah, it will. No, Alyx, why are you going after it? Alright, kind of trapped it here. Let's get out of here from the other direction. I think I hear another... Oh, there it is. Here we can see kind of the limitations of Alyx's AI. She has a little bit of trouble realizing, hey, maybe it's wrong. Oh no. Maybe it's a little bit wrong to for her to. Another one. For to just go up to a hunter. All right, so against them just now. I think it's good way of dealing with them. Have a rocket launcher. That can help for sure. Have a rocket launcher.
Too much. Let's get moving.
Might as well use it for the tougher enemies. So I think handled that pretty well, considering there were actually not a lot of uses for the gravity gun around here. There weren't a lot of smaller items, at least not in the vicinity. All right, so this looks like the car itself is trapped. So it itself is presenting a puzzle. We can get around it. Yeah, I think we could have thrown these. We had find them, but go to the specific spot as well. A very complex situation there. In that house we ran out of resources, so kind of forced us out and had to deal with the hunters in the more open area. As you said, this house is a death trap, I guess. The game itself was able to recognize when we were running out of resources in the house to deal with the enemies. But luckily, me doing that puzzle, by the way, earlier on, I was able to get a pretty powerful weapon against the hunters. I can deal with them directly, head on. Just something that you usually cannot do. I usually have to try and figure out a way to use your gravity gun and try and take them out with various environmental objects that'll do some blunt trauma damage. Let's see. How about one of these? Oh boy. How about this thing? I'm trying to do the more blunt trauma damage this way. So grenades, that seems like a pretty good idea.
Gotta reload. Nice shot.
There we go. Sniping seems like a good idea to me. Alright, it's probably not the best way to deal with that particular onslaught, but it was an effective one at least. One way I like doing it is to try and get some of the hunter darts on an object like this log, and then try to send it back at them. That can be very effective in damaging towards them. It's, you know, can't always pull that off every single time. Alright, so now we're trying to find the power source for that specific. I think we found it here. So how do we deal with that?
Take that turret down, Gordon.
I think I can throw stuff through here. So I might want to do that. Alright, that seemed to work. You can hear the noise. We don't even need visual confirmation. We can hear it from the
There's the power source for the shield.
audio.
Huh. I haven't skimped on security either. Let me see if I can disable the shields and get you closer to the reactor. Okay, it looks like I can open them from here, but I won't be able to...
As far as a very nice climactic encounter, that one was one of the better ones in this game for sure. It's very complicated, variety of enemies to deal with.
Sorry, Gordon. This
And you have a limited amount of resources, and you have to work within the space giving you. That house is actually really nice to design because it has multiple levels. Gives you a variety of options, you know, multiple levels with a lot of resources hidden within. As long as you make full use of all the levels and all of the, you know, nooks and crannies of that house, you can survive. You can, if you stay in one spot and you just try and shoot and use whatever you have, you're probably not gonna make it. Because I utilized the entire environment, I think that's how I was able to manage and survive. Alright, yeah, pretty complex battle, really enjoyable. Definitely like that one, for sure. Very, very exciting, trying to deal with all that stuff, so. Alright, let's see. Alright, jump over here so I can bash you with a crowbar. Alright, so let me see if I can get back to, or finish up the topic I was discussing before that big battle happened. Just a quick, a kind of a wrap-up, I suppose. So I was just discussing getting back into a game after a break, after you have left it for a while. It is possible, but you know, depending on the situation, I think how long it's been since you played the game and how long you've gotten into the game, you might be able to get back into it. And as I've said, with my example with Dark Souls, it's not impossible, even with a challenging game, to get back into a game. It just depends on how motivated you are. Alright, so depends on how motivated you are, and it is entirely possible for you to do it. But I think sometimes if it is a long time, if the learning curve to get back into the game is too great, it might actually be a better idea to resign yourself to the fact that you might want to come back to the game a bit later and let the game teach you what it needs to teach you as far as how to play it over again from the beginning. Sometimes that makes a lot more sense, and I have done that in the past. I have started a game over after not playing it for a while. There was another little ammo cache here. Well, that is a valid option. I don't think abandoning, or not. It's not. I don't think it is abandoning the game or giving up. I think it just makes total sense. You know, sometimes life gets in the way, or other games get in the way. You want to be, you want to be with, you know, more, or be more up to date with newer games, quite possibly, or. Alright, so I think a dead end here. I might have to. I don't know what I want to do here. Does it want me to jump? Is that what it wants me to do? Like this little ramp here wants me to try and jump. Alright, well, I guess that is one way to do it. Yeah, let's have some fun. Let's get crazy. Alright, let's try and make this jump. Well, sometimes I guess I said that the reasons for leaving a game is an entirely different topic, so let's I don't want to get too far into it, but you know, there are good reasons to. Oh boy, here we go. Wow, took some damage there, but that was interesting. That was fun. All right, let's keep going. So yeah, it's life can sometimes get in the way. Other games can sometimes get in the way, and given that, you might want to consider how you might get into a game that you have, you know, taken a break from, and restarting it after a while is a totally valid option, I think.
There goes the radar.
There's a cache. I like these caches because they give me a nice, nice breaks to continue talking. A lot of action getting getting me distracted and whatnot. So, but it looks like the cache is up there. Not sure what that was all about. Something happened up ahead. I'm trying to deal with this cache now. I think one way to deal with this is try and gravity gun it and shoot it out. Let's work on my aim. Got some rocks here. Alright, see if I can get some of those out. I think I got one out. Can I get the other one? Yeah, I see the mark here pointing up. That's it. Alright, let's see what the first one gave. Alright, so I don't know, I think that was a sufficient discussion of what happens when you take a break from a game and whether it's possible to get back or whether you even want to get back, if it's you know, reasons for why it might be difficult to get back into a game. It's all about that learning curve, and you know, each game is unique, and you know, while if you played a lot of games, you can include that you can get a lot of your foreknowledge of games based on playing a lot of games can help you, especially depending on, you know, genres of games you like to play. Can give you a lot of a head start in terms of knowing how to play a specific game. But even within like the same type of game, say shooters or RPGs, there can be a lot of very individual game-specific things to learn about that you might end up forgetting when you take a break. I think that's the main challenge, is trying to relearn that language of that specific game. Can be a challenge. All right, let's see. Do I want to get that second part? Whatever that is. Still having trouble getting it. Just doesn't want to leave. Aha, here we go. Got it. That was actually, yeah, pretty worthwhile. I love those crossbow bolts. Don't mind me, Alex. Sorry about that. Looks like our car fell into the... Or one of the rocks fell into the car. And I guess I brought all that up because I took a semi-short break from... I don't think I've ever noticed this, like a sort of a pumpkin patch. That's kind of interesting. Nice weird little detail. Never noticed that before. Yeah, I took I've been taking semi-short breaks because of all the holiday, all the holiday business has been caused me to need to take a week off, a week away from the game, and it's been upsetting the rhythm of my play to the point where it's like sometimes difficult for me to try and get into.
That doesn't sound good.
Difficult for me to try to continue playing this game. So like when I want to stream specifically, it's like I'm having sometimes I have a
I
challenge.
see an antenna. Huh, I think that's White Forest. Well, we're close enough to make it the rest of the way on foot if we have to.
All right. Try and figure this puzzle out. I don't know. Let's see. I don't see any specific way to open this up.
The dropship. That must have been the crash we heard. White Forest sentries are doing their job.
Okay, so that's what happened up ahead. Dropship kind of crashed or... Oh boy, it's moving.
Over here, Gordon.
Oh, hey, look who it is. Come to our rescue. Presented with this pretty awesome sight. Should we help? Maybe with a rocket launcher or something? I think Dog's got this. Whoa, that's maybe I should stand back. Nice.
Get clear. Oh no. Dog,
That's brain.
are you all
Wow.
right? Wake up, dog. Please.
Took a beating, both of them. Oh, there we go.
You're all right.
He's back.
You had me worried there. Everything working all right?
You all right down there?
We're fine.
Is dog okay?
Better now.
We've been waiting for you. Just follow the stream. Then
Pretty cool scene presented there.
White Forest is right there.
Badass dog.
All right. Thanks.
Taking down a strider on his own. Always cool to see. Especially since
Get the car and we'll
it hasn't been too long since the end of episode 1 where we're presented with that a single strider was our big boss battle there, and in Half-Life 2 proper we were presented with a lot of striders to battle there, and they're always a difficult challenge.
Would you mind?
Alright, so now I think we've made our ultimate goal, we're very close to it as far as our location. We're trying to get to White Forest, we're trying to get back to the head of the rebellion, essentially, against the Combine.
Okay, dog. Race you to the base. Step on it, Gordon.
But he has a head start. No fair. Let's see if we can race him. Also, the fact that I don't entirely know the way to the base. Oh boy. Looks like he's probably gonna win. Yeah, he made it. I have made this race before. I have won the race, but essentially, if you hit anything along the way, it's very easy for your car to just like go careening off the road.
Alyx and Gordon Freeman.
Basically, you hit 1 inch of rock, and your car just swerves to the right or to the left.
Let us in.
Really difficult to
Let him through.
to navigate when you're speeding up like that, when you're
Feeling you were close when we saw a dog take
revving your engines, but that's okay.
I was never
I think it's
so
meant to be hard, and it's a challenge that's not entirely easy, but when you do make it, it's pretty cool. Plus, it's just an optional thing anyway, just trying to beat Dog to White Forest. And either way, it's pretty fun to do that race. So you know, I've made that, I've beaten Dog to the end there successfully before. I don't need to beat him this time.
About time, too.
Now we're presented with a lot of story-heavy scenes, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to do a lot of commentary here, because we're gonna be doing a lot of listening. We've for our efforts, for our
Alyx, Dr. Freeman.
long journey
Hey.
to White Forest, now we
Boy,
get
are we
a
glad
nice
to be
break
here.
from
We heard you ran into a little trouble out there.
from those combat
In the front
and
door.
puzzles that we have to
Think they
encounter
learned their lesson.
earlier. Just a sufficient reward
Patrolling out here.
and a nice wind down of the action
You heard him, Dog.
in the form of this story. See here,
I'll
just
catch up to you later.
listening and walking around, meeting some characters, progressing the narrative a bit more.
He's in Silo 1 access unit, right through here.
Shall we?
I think that makes sense. It fits a lot with the rhythm of the game. Presented with a lot of action. Now we're just getting a little a short wind down, a break, before we get any more action later on.
Oh no, what's that?
All right, back to work, everyone. It's just another false alarm in the secondary silo.
Take a walk.
Same old Dr. Magnuson.
But hey, yeah, we made it to White Forest. We've
So, you ever used
No
an
time now,
AR-2
Doc.
before?
AR-2? No. Nah, an AR-3.
Hey, Doc. Time for that later.
There is no such thing as an AR-3.
also like this
Well,
little moment
city to
here.
city, the place was lousy with AR-3s.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
No, it was. So, do you know what the alternative fire method does on the AR-2? It kills hunters. How did you city folk kill hunters?
We sure as hell didn't use guns. We would just wrestle hunters to the ground with our bare hands. I used to kill 10, 20 a day, just using my fists.
Also, when you're out in the field, you're gonna be punching hunters?
In the field? I'm not going out in the field. I'm a radio operator.
That's it. Leave. You don't need to be here, and I'm not gonna continue the lesson until you leave.
I'm staying right here.
I am serious. Leave.
Alright, for that little story moment there,
Not going to continue
get
until
a
you
little bit, a
leave.
tidbit of information. If we so chose to pay attention to that, we learn that the alternative fire on the AR, I believe this is what he's talking about. The alternative fire kills hunters. Gotta keep that in mind. Alright. Now keep in mind this room here. This gonna be coming to this room pretty soon. Recognize it. I didn't know it was right here, this room, because kind of you explore a lot of the base, and it can be a little bit of a labyrinth. You get a lot of twists and turns, and I didn't realize that when you come back to this room, it's like right out here where you first enter. Alright, so we're not going this way. Continue on. Alright, here we go. To meet Alex's dad.
Hey, Gordon, man, you made it.
Dad,
Alyx.
I was so afraid I wouldn't see you again.
There, sweetheart. We're together now. That's all that matters. And look at you, son. I knew if you both stayed together, you could get through anything.
Yeah? We make a pretty good team.
Yeah, well, that's good because, well, now that the suppression field's down, we all have to do our part.
Dad?
Can you blame an old man for wanting grandkids? What happened to you?
Dad, it's not what it looks like. I'm fine.
Are you sure? Shouldn't we have that looked at?
Really, I'm fine. Where's Dr. Kleiner? We should get this data to him right away.
Okay. Yes, we should. He'll be glad for it.
Alright, finally deliver that data. Do a little bit of exploring here.
You think they were still competing for grant money?
Some things never
Alright,
change.
satisfied. Continue on.
Do we have any idea how long until the super portal's active?
We don't know for certain. We're keeping an eye on it.
And what about the Combine? Will we be able to launch before they attack?
It's gonna be close. All it would take is one strider to destroy our rocket. We're ready
you know, it could be easy for
Don't worry, sweetheart.
the game
I'm just so glad
to, you know,
I'm glad to
it,
be
it
back.
keeps you in your character and lets you observe and direct your experience as much as possible. But it could be easy for it to just have only the, you know, characters in front of you talking and have nothing else going on. But I appreciate the fact that it encourages your own direction and your interactivity within its storytelling by giving you other stuff to look at the same time, right? So like those Vortigaunt and the other character walking by, you know, various screens to look at. It gives you stuff to look at besides the primary focus. Like it understands that you want to look at stuff sometimes besides the main story thing that's going on right in front of you.
To make time for a family reunion.
All right. I was just saying hello to Alyx and Gordon.
Oh, fine. No one grants me a moment's peace, but by all means, unroll the red carpet.
Good grief. I only meant they might. Oh,
Well, there are a lot of good reasons for you wanting to look at other stuff besides
where is this
the primary dialogue. I mean,
if I
especially considering if you play through the game multiple times, you know,
We've got a ton of data.
there's other times you might want to try and observe other stuff, take in as much as possible, besides the stuff you already seen before, and learn a little bit more about what's going on.
Start the decoding process, and then we
So it's like, yeah, one argument is like, why would you want to pay attention to other stuff besides the main story? And I think there are a variety of reasons, including subsequent playthroughs, for wanting to, you know, look at other stuff, look at stuff besides the primary dialogue and story moments.
I'm supposed to concentrate with all of this racket. Freeman, you're not doing anything. Make yourself useful and find out what the hell is going on in there.
Yes. Gordon, if you don't mind, I'd feel better if you had a look.
Catch up with us.
Alright, so some stuff is apparently happening. You want me to investigate.
The blast doors will have sealed due to the alert, so you'll have to go through the bottom of the launch tube. I'll open this hatch to let you down. Now, once you're down
So
there,
if you
I'll have Uriah
remember
take you
correctly,
into the secondary cell.
this was an area that the G-Man apparently showed us, or the G-Man showed us in that big story moment earlier on, during the time when the Vortigaunts were healing Alyx.
A hug? The situation's not going to investigate itself.
So the G-Man himself is aware of this rocket in this room. Interesting. You can make of that what you will. It's a very interesting detail.
Attention personnel, this is Dr. Magnuson. Since the secondary silo staff seem incapable of solving their little crow problem, you will be happy to hear we have put the popular Dr. Freeman on the job. We all look forward to his remedy, and I look forward to hearing the staff's excuses for why they couldn't handle it themselves. Thank you for your patience.
Alright. Pretty impressive rocket. Also impressive to consider that this entire level here was is like its own is an entire level. We haven't hit a level load yet. Everything here is rendered all in real time. This huge rocket in this massive silo. Sometimes I have to, you know, stop and appreciate the construction of this level design, even despite some of the flaws in the game's engine, the Steam engine. I think I mentioned in episode 1, the fact that they have level loads at all, and those loading times kind of shows the engine's age. All right. Anything here? No. Do I want to override that, or do I want to, Alright. Can, in fact, contact him through there.
met, Freeman.
Like how it gives you the option to go against the sign here from Dr. M. Magnuson. Probably annoy him.
Instructed me to admit you into the second
Or we can figure out that we can maybe summon the Vortigaunt.
leads through here.
Alright. Like this character's entire purpose is to tell you to keep going in this direction. Yeah, so far everything in this White Forest area has been really interesting from a story perspective, from an interactivity perspective, and just from exploring a new area, especially after various types of things. Okay, so now we hit a level load. You know, more modern engines don't necessarily need loading levels anymore. They, you know, stream all these various game details, textures, models. It'll stream all that stuff on the fly.
God's sake, Freeman, what is taking you so long?
Or older engines, you know, do these, you know, separate various areas into levels, and they'll load that specific level. And the Source engine has gotten to a point where we're getting on the tail end of that that sort of engine, where the levels themselves were fairly big. They were getting really big. I think like maybe the biggest ones were in Source games, Source engine games like Portal 2. Portal 2 even used that same engine and had similar moments of level loading as we've seen here. But Portal 2, the levels got pretty massive. Oh boy, hunters. So it looks like the problem there was a little bit more complicated than crows, and we're gonna have to deal with that stuff now. Oh boy. So how about we test out that theory? Let's get out of from under here. Try to take out those hunters directly. You actually want to get one of those these fire things. All right. Any more of these? All right, took one down. If we learned before, we had the alternate fire on this thing should take down a hunter. Over another one. Yeah, and it works just fine. I have another one. Maybe I just want to directly. There we go. Heck yeah. So for paying attention to that little story moment, I learn about a quick way to take these things down. But if there are any more, like I won't know about them or I won't be able to take them down in that fashion because I'm already out of them, already out of that secondary fire. I have to find more somewhere else. All right, so let's get out of here. Looks like these guys are able to survive because I took them down very quickly. See what else we've got to deal with here. Yeah, so we can see the pacing for observing, you know, paying attention to the way the game is working, the storytelling going on. We had that big climactic showdown against 3 hunters in the house area, and also various combine as well. Big showdown there, and are they going to stay behind? Oh boy. And then we got a lot of story moments. Oh boy. I think I'm gonna need some health. Maybe I want to stay behind. Oh, there's some health over there. Not a whole lot. Maybe I should try and find some more health around here. Because I know there was a lot. Yeah, there's some... Before I proceed further, probably not a good idea to...
Let me get out of your way.
Go in with that little bit of health. Alright, so as I was saying, there was big climactic battle in the house. There's 3 hunters, and then you got a winding down of the action for the purposes of a break, which I think was a very smart idea, and then to learn some story there. Or experience some story, more specifically story moments. There we go, took it down. As a break, and now we're back into the action.
Attention, Freeman. It is critical that you seal the overhead silo doors and stop this infiltration.
Alright, let's see what we got here. Let's put down these resources. Got another turret. Oh, it didn't even take it down. There we go, that's better. Taking this slow. Make sure I don't die here. We're back into the action after a lull, a more story-focused moment. I think it's the game's going along with its fairly well-established. Oh boy, here we go. That was a surprise for sure. Come on, I need this thing. Are there any more around? How about just keep throwing stuff at it? Alright, throwing stuff at it totally works. You have to... It's gonna give you a merry chase until you just deal enough brute force damage. Alright. Yeah, that was a big surprise. Turning the corner, right, have your face to face with a hunter. Yeah, the action really ramped up, and it's going along with the game's established rhythm since the beginning. Like, essentially, we get big action scenes, some puzzles, and then might get a story moment in between. Then it delves right back into the action, so you're not totally amped up all the time, but you're also not you're not experiencing a slow story all the time as well. As I said, I think the rhythm in this game works very well. Giving you a lot of a variety of environments to see, going through various different types of levels, like the train experience earlier on, and then the antlion level, followed by the journey to White Forest in the
Freeman, I repeat, there has been a breach of the secondary silo by way of the overhead walkway.
in the car.
I will trust you to seal the silo.
Finally getting, this shootout in White Forest itself. Okay, that's way back. How about looks like this fine use for the crossbow here. There we go. Slowly make our way up and take these guys out at the same time. And see, even within this silo area, we're getting some very, very interesting environmental design in the form of multi-level silo. We're slowly making our way up, going through those subterranean tunnels as well. Very, very interesting place. What I really love about the way these levels work is that it's not only interesting to fight within them. Where's that guy? There he is. It's also seems to make sense from the perspective of what the level is in itself. Like, it's meant to be a missile silo or an abandoned missile silo. So it seems like it is a functional one of those. It makes sense for what it is. It isn't just a level for the sake of being a level. For the sake of giving you an interesting area to fight, although that is what it is as well. I think it makes sense from its place in the world to... Alright, do I have rockets? I think I do. I have one rocket. Maybe I want to... Yeah, there we go. That works. Get some help before moving on. Alright. Now we can get in here.
Is anyone still alive in there?
There we go. Close the door. Nice shooting gallery as well. Anyone want to poke their face in? Get shot on sight. I did see a few more Combine get through, although I think that those guys there are handling it now. Whew, yeah, that was yet another exciting battle there. Very nicely done. No more dudes down there. I think all taken care of. We can go meet our friends now.
Gordon! Thank goodness you're okay. Glad that's over. We couldn't get in till you sealed off the silo when the blast doors opened up.
Regrettably true.
I'd better let my dad know you're alright.
As far as a combat encounter, I think that worked out very well. Really, it was interesting getting through there, especially since the game did a very good job of giving you a lot of surprises, especially that hunter right in the face, turning that corner to see the hunter, like, oh, whoops, turning the corner, like, nope, turn around, run away, pick something up and throw it at it, try to find more explosives and whatnot.
The freeman must follow.
Alright. So, got a big ramp up of action there. Now I think we're going to have another short wind down. Following along with the rhythm of the game that has been fairly established so far.
At the side of the
And it has been working out very well so far as well. A short story moment before proceeding with any more action. Alright, where are we going? Okay, another level load. Yeah, these areas are getting a lot of interesting level design. I guess requires a lot of stitching together these various levels. The whole base is so big that they can't be rendered in just one load.
I'm gonna cut this short. We may have been spotted.
Reviewing that message that we got from the Citadel in episode 1.
Wait a moment. There's something else here. It's the Borealis.
Good God.
Incredible.
See that aperture logo there?
The Borealis? It's real?
You played Portal, you know what that is.
Quite
Aperture
real, despite its almost legendary
kind of
status.
confirms that Portal
Our
Portal games exist in the same universe as
work on a project of some
Half-Life games.
but in their rush to
How they
funding, they
fit
must
together, we don't know exactly, but
standards of risk.
should prove interesting if the story ever continues.
Disappeared, vanished, with all hands, and even part of the dry dock. Few believed the Borealis would ever be seen again.
It should have been lost forever.
Ah, but now that we've found it, we can use it against the Combine.
Use it. That thing has to be destroyed.
But think of the advantage for humanity. We can't simply waste all that
Has
potential.
Black Mesa taught you anything? There's no controlling that kind of power.
Well, yes. There's always a risk, Eli. But my goodness, we have coordinates, blueprints, hailing frequencies. Quite ingenious of Dr. Mossman to hide it all in the carrier wave.
Well, that means she's still alive up there. But if the Combine catch her, they'll tear out everything she knows. There'll be nothing left of her.
But we don't know for sure
I won't
that...
take that chance. I'm going after her.
Dad!
No, Eli, the only thing worse than Judith falling into their hands would be if they should get a hold of you. She may know the particulars of the Borealis, but you know everything about the Resistance.
Listen to Dr. Kleiner, Dad. Gordon and I are more than able to handle this. We'll get her back.
Kleiner, where are you? Why isn't the decoding finished?
Oh, fine. The code. Yes, Magnuson. It just needs a little bit longer.
If you're waiting for the Combine's go-ahead, they'll soon be here to give it to you in person.
I'll hurry it along, Magnuson. I'll be back as soon as I finish.
Dad, are you okay?
Alright.
I can't let it happen.
Well, something's happening.
Dad, prepare for unforeseen consequences.
What did you say?
Dad! Okay. It's okay. Just lean into me. Let's get you off your feet.
Thank you, baby. I'll be fine in a minute or two.
Okay. Do you need anything?
Actually, Alyx, would you mind getting me a cup of tea? There's a hot plate in the old staff room.
I'll be right back. Gordon, keep an eye on him.
We're not going anywhere. Thank you, baby. Unforeseen consequences. The last time I heard those words was back at Black Mesa. You had just stepped into the test chamber when he whispered them in my ear. You know who I'm talking about. Our mutual friend. When he brought in that crystal, I knew I should have aborted that damn test, but I didn't. The whole world went to hell that day. And now he's using my little girl, putting words in her mouth. God damn it. I should have known when he rescued her it was for his own damn reasons. Gordon, there's so much I need to tell you. Between us, we may finally have a chance of,
Here you go. Is everything all right?
there's nothing.
All right, people, change of plans. There is no way we can launch before those Striders are... Oh, excuse me if I'm interrupting tea time. I'll just step out until you've finished, if that's more convenient.
It's all right, honey.
Well, Freeman, I believe I've found the perfect use for you. Follow me, quickly.
We'll talk later, Gordon.
I'll catch up with you in a bit.
Alright. So, very long, extended story sequence there. I didn't want to interrupt too much of it. Alright, so we'll actually learn a lot of very important stuff in terms of the Half-Life series overall in a very grand sense.
Don't dare launch until
Stuff, details going all the way back to the very first Half-Life game,
and the staff seem to respect you.
showing how important the story of Half-Life 2 Episode 2 is to the grand series, or the series overall.
Call it the Magnuson device.
Not my chosen label, you understand, but it seemed to please the personnel.
Interesting considering
Now look lively in there.
how important the important connections introduced right here in episode 2.
Sort of sticky bomb.
Considering that the story stops right here, and we haven't seen a new episode or a new entry in the Half-Life series since episode 2 in 2007.
For launching the device, but well, your zero-point energy field manipulator clears up that little problem. Now follow me, and we'll let you get in some practice while we still have time.
So from a player perspective, it's really disappointing to see that. Or, well, in 2007 it was fine, I suppose, because it was really cool seeing these big connective story bits or story elements for the entire series, these important details being brought up, as well as teasing for future events later on. But as years passed, between then and now, 2016 now, still waiting for all of these introduced elements to, come to a satisfying conclusion, come to fruition. So now we're learning ways in order to take down a Strider fairly quickly.
Now, take out the firearm of your choice and shoot the device.
Strider Busters.
Not too difficult at this range, is it? Gets a bit harder when it's moving about and firing at you, of course. Now, let's move on to a more challenging task.
So I wonder if we're going to have to fight some Striders. Or I think they've already established that an army of Combine and Striders are on the way to White Forest. We've already seen them on the bridge there earlier on. After the whole antline escapade, we came out onto a view of the Striders. A lot of Striders and Combine making their way to White Forest. Wow, overshot it.
A bit more challenging at this range, isn't it?
Right, so I think I'll talk a little bit more about the implications of the story that episode 2 introduces, but I think that particular moment there was an important one to start that discussion.
Magnificent.
With how
I'll be right over here when you are
the
ready
big
to
questions and story elements introduced in episode 2. It's a real shame that we haven't seen any new entry in the Half-Life series since then. Since episode 2 happened. Alright, so I think I got a handle on the whole Strider busting thing. Continue on. Here's just another example, a very singular example of how episode 2 is introducing a very specifically new element in order for you to take down these Striders. You have to find one of these out in the wild, throw one of these at the Striders, make sure it makes contact, and then you can take it down. And think about that in terms of the grander game, where it's introducing lots of different elements and mechanics for you to learn and interact with the game, and interact with lots of very specific things and scenarios that it introduces. And again, it lends further credence and context to my discussion of
Your car is
when you take a break from a game and the trouble and the complicated the complexities of trying to return to that game after a break. Well, I don't need to get back into that again. I'm just further examples of that.
I'm relying on you not to squander my trust or my magnetism.
Another point about episode 2 is I think this is one of the first examples
I might just
of
forgive you for that debacle at Black Mesa.
or one of the biggest and most important examples of a story element that connects all the way back to Half-Life 1, the first game in the series. Especially considering that as a whole, episode 2 and the series from not episode 2, Half-Life 2, from Half-Life 2 on, the series has felt very, very different in style and tone compared to Half-Life 1. And I think that's just because of the evolution of game design and the expectations of games between Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2. There was enough time between the two games for various stylistic and tonal elements of video games in general to change. So it was necessary for Half-Life 2 to evolve a lot compared to Half-Life 1. There was a lot less time between, say, Episode 1 and Episode 2. So the style and tone of the episodes aren't going to be that much different from Half-Life 2.
Plus, it'll send a homing signal to your HEV suit in case you get separated from your car.
So that makes it just even more interesting to consider the fact that
right here at the south end of the valley,
even though the Half-Life 2 games and the episodes along with Half-Life 2 feel very different to Half-Life 1,
I'll be staying here to watch the field and send status updates.
I think that's the reason why the experiences seem very separate, and the story, the type of story that Half-Life 2 is very different than the Half-Life story than the type of story that Half-Life 1 was. So I think my point there is because of the major differences in style and tone between Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2, it's really interesting to see a sort of connecting detail like that, and an important one, such as what we've seen right there with the message delivered to Alyx's father, to Eli Vance. I think the main connected thread so far has been. Do I have okay, I do have one already. The main connected thread between all of the games has been like the G-Man, and the fact that he has some influence over all the proceedings, the events of Half-Life.
Still no sign
Now we're
of incursion. Keep alert.
Now we're seeing a lot of those connections deepen, and a direct reference to the events happened in Half-Life 1 we haven't really seen before. Quite like that. Oh, am I going to a specific area? I think so. I might have missed that. Yeah, I'm going to something specific. Yeah, it's on my radar. Okay, no, I think this is just the end, right? That just shows where White Forest is, right? Okay. I don't think there's necessarily anything for me to... Yeah, I am going to a specific place, but I misread the map, essentially. Is he gonna tell me what...
They're waiting for you in the sawmill.
Yeah, the sawmill. I figured this guy would tell me where the sawmill is, so that is where I'm heading. Here we go.
So, they've sent Freeman, have they? Good man. We've counted a dozen Striders just north of us.
Alright, here they come. This is like the big battle that we've been waiting for essentially since that bridge scene. We knew that the game was foreshadowing a giant army coming to White Forest, so... Alright, here we go.
North perimeter breach.
Looks like we have...
We have a Strider approaching from the cranes.
Go!
Ah, yeah, that works.
Strider at the sawmill.
Yeah, there we go. Alright, got another one coming. Let's deal with that. Oh boy. Take them down the old-fashioned way. I need to get one of those, I'm gonna need one of those Strider Busters. Should be one around here. There we go. We'll grab a bunch of other resources. Yeah, alright. Let's put this back. Take it one a different direction. So I think there was a specific achievement attached to making sure none of the locations on the map get destroyed. Alright, nice. Well, I did lose the sawmill. Make sure I don't lose the other places.
Traveling with the Striders. They're working in packs.
I'll try my best at least. How about we get some of these like out in the open so I don't have to grab them?
Now we have a Strider coming in from the water tower.
Water tower, you say? Ah, I see him. Pretty interesting battle going on here, especially considering we have to contend with hunters on our way as well. I'm kind of stuck here. I want to grab this log. Alright, how about we take out the Guardian Hunter as well? So close to the end there. There we go. That's better.
Strider coming from the crane.
Nice. Alright. Another one down. So I'm starting to get the hang of the essentially the rhythm of the way this encounter works. Make sure I restock on a Buster, Strider Buster as I go. Where is it? Other way. Get to it from behind. Oh man, alright. Come on, log. There we go. See if I can get this to it very quickly. There we go. Yeah, the hunters provide a pretty good defense.
Keep up the good work. Only a few Striders left.
Alright. Actually got him with his own darts there. Yeah, so the hunters provide
what used to be the sawmill.
defense for the Striders, so they'll actually shoot down the Strider Busters if you're not quick enough. particularly like... Oh boy, 3 hunters now.
Now we have a strider coming in from the water tower.
There we go, let's just bash him with this thing. Maybe I can quickly take this one down. Oh boy. Alright, never mind. See if I can go from the other side, grab one of those Strider Busters at the same time. You can see how the difficulty of this encounter is ramping up. I'm getting multiple Striders now. We're also getting more. There we go. That's more like it. Unfortunately, I couldn't save this guy.
A strider has been spotted by the cranes.
All right, nice. Keep up the good work. Oof. And one thing I really like about this encounter is just how big the area is. This is very wide open spaces and makes really cool use of the car. These large environments. The fact that we can have enemies sprawled across the entire area essentially. Have a lot of these large striders throughout the environment. The environment essentially can support the striders. Oh boy! All right, can I get this thing, please? Finally, the thing died. Alright, so we lost that particular area.
Alert! There's a strider getting close to the base.
Okay. Took out the hunters, so well on my way to taking this guy out. There we go. Whew, close call there. Let's continue on. Oh, I also have to make sure I reload my Strider Buster in the car. You can essentially see how the flow of this combat works. Also see how the landscape of the area changes too, by just by the fact that the Striders can destroy the buildings, and once they destroy the buildings, they are essentially remove that particular Strider Buster off the map. So you have you're less capable to try and defend the base.
Looks like that was the last one. Wait a minute.
get back to the house, I think.
We spotted drop ships carrying even more Striders.
Oh
We have
boy.
about a minute before they hit, so gear up.
Alright, here it comes. Big
Before it's over.
climactic battle, I suppose. There we go. Well, they're the dropships. Kind of see them carrying these like folded up Striders. Really interesting. Okay, I already have one anyway. Well, there are actually a lot more explosives. I want to do the same thing and try and leave a few on the outside there.
We have a Strider coming in from the crane.
Okay, the cranes. Gotcha. So let's try to take these out as quickly as possible. Oh boy.
Now there's one at the sawmill. They're coming from everywhere. Strider spotted at the water tower.
Ah, boy. Let's try to get back in the car, how about? Yeah, this is getting pretty complicated because of these darn hunters. Oh boy, not looking good. Yep, pretty complicated considering the hunters, as well as multiple riders at the same time.
Looks like that was the last one. Wait a minute. Get ready, everyone. We spotted drop ships carrying even more Striders.
Okay, I remember where it's saved now.
Before they hit, so gear up. This is gonna get ugly before it's over.
That's alright, we're right before that major encounter. It makes sense that fall a few times. There we go. Whew, yeah. Gonna get pretty darn tough. You can see, like, I really like the challenge that this whole scenario presents. Route, I'm trying to balance taking down the hunters and the protective hunters, while also trying to take down. Here it is. Maybe what I want to do is
coming from everywhere.
remember to get a Strider Buster first. Already kind of messed up here. Alright, let's get this thing. Sure. Okay, which one do I want to deal with first? Alright, there we go. Okay, one down. Nice. But I think what really nails down this encounter is the fact that you have to go back and find one of those. You go back and find one of those Strider Buster locations, right? You can't just simply take out any particular Strider. Oh boy. Yeah, the hunters are getting really good. at protecting. Okay, so one of them is getting pretty close. I gotta go find. Gotta go find a Strider Buster now. Right side of it is that one of them is not gonna have protective hunters around them.
They're closing in on the silo! Hold them off!
Come on, let me get the, Alright, how about, get rid of this stupid hunter now. Oof, close call. Oh boy. Yep, definitely tough.
Miracle to get us out of this.
Where's that hunter? Alright, got two of them approaching. Don't know why that one didn't lock on, but... Oh boy, what's going on? I don't know what just happened there. I think one of the legs just knocked me out. Actually never experienced that. Never quite experienced that specific problem before, but
Wait a minute. Get ready, everyone!
never a dull moment.
There's more Striders. We have about a minute before they hit, so gear
Alright,
up.
so that was not
This is gonna get
particularly a
ugly before
great,
it's
great handling, so I'm glad I'm just able to try that over again. Alright. So this time I actually got one of the Strider Busters. Made sure. Have one at the ready. Pretty silly of me not to have one ready. Okay.
We have a Strider coming in from the crate.
Alright, so I definitely need to take out the hunters before I try
Now
anything
there's one
else.
at the sawmill.
This one doesn't seem to have any...
They're coming from everywhere. Strider spotted at the water tower.
Right, so that was exactly what I was trying to do first time. Accidentally forgot to... try and knock some of these darts back at them. There we go. So now this one is hunter free. But I gotta get a Strider Buster from somewhere.
careful, we are not done yet. Another strider was just spotted at the sawmill. One more at the crane.
Alright, which one is the closest? Probably the one here. Okay. Yeah, much more on top of things this time. Key detail, I think, is to remember to take out those hunters. It's just too difficult to try and get the busters on them with the hunters, you know. The hunters clearing them off. So we're seeing how the interesting interaction with the hunters work. Okay, let's try and turn around here. Oh boy, okay. There we go. That's more like it. Let's just get out of here.
They're closing in on the silo! Hold them off!
Okay. Car seems to be safe. Seeing a lot of the curious, curious juggling that we have to try and contend with here. Just missed out on the hunter there. There we go. That's better. Why can I not grab anything?
Attention!
There we go.
Attention! The Striders have been defeated! All personnel return to base immediately! Repeat! All personnel return to base immediately!
That seemed like the culmination of that battle. Make sure to try to get multiple of those Striders as possible. And there's the car. Yeah, okay. I was trying to describe the battle as I was playing. It was very difficult to do that while concentrating on everything at the same time. I think it's well constructed on many levels. One from the level design level, one from the level design element. Level design level. Sorry for being a little bit redundant in my language there, but essentially, the wide open spaces makes really good use of the cars, and being able to fit a lot of enemies in there at once. As many as 3 giant Striders plus all the Guardian Hunters as well. Works out quite well. That giant area. It makes the whole encounter feel big and massive, having all that AI working on that one level.
Gordon, you were amazing.
One giant area. There's also what I really like about that level is the way it further shows Half-Life's, or the Half-Life 2 episodes, the way it's been interacting with that AI. We've been seeing the hunters interacting well with the Striders, and them being the guardians for the Striders. You think these Striders are really big and massive, but they have that one weakness in the Strider busters that we've encountered. But adding a few hunters shooting off those Strider busters, and that makes the whole encounter much more complicated than
Freeman.
than we originally thought. So having to contend with those Guardian hunters before being able to effectively deal with the Striders.
For saving my rocket.
Yeah, it provides a really interesting challenge. Really,
That's enough chit-chat.
Yeah, so all that together, I think I really enjoyed.
For a minute there,
And the complexity of that battle, the way it was constructed, interacting with AI that are interacting with each other and interacting with you. Also trying to use your environment to your advantage, right? Many different ways I can take down those enemies. Like I can run the hunters over, or I can.
I found an old helicopter that I was able to get working.
Of course, the classic way of using the gravity gun, bashing them with objects in the environment. All those resources at hand, and I think all of that is made possible by the size of that environment. And they're able to put a bunch of things in, give you a lot of options.
Let's not forget that with the Magnuson device.
So I could continue talking about that one encounter and how well it works, and
Well, I think perhaps Gordon.
but I think we got to keep on moving with the game and pay attention to the story at hand. But I think I did it enough justice talking about the various aspects I liked and why I think it works very well.
I believe Gordon should have the honor.
So now we
Hear no objection from me.
we're boarded with another climactic or important story moment. A winding down of the action. I guess our reward and our little break after that big battle. You know, as established as kind of the pacing and rhythm we've seen so far. Hopefully everything works out very well.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
So they figured out a way to shut down the portal, and we're seeing that now.
We did it!
We sure did.
Yes.
So right now they're launching a satellite, I believe, that'll reactivate Earth's defense system, and the defense system they can use to blast the portal out.
Transmit the signal.
Too right. The clock is ticking.
We couldn't have cut it any closer if that was our intention.
It is going to work, right?
It has to.
Once the rocket is in range of the portal, we'll be able to switch on the xenium resonator.
Well, let's get outside. I'd like a better view of the fireworks.
There should be quite a show. Regrettably, I can't come out with you. Magnuson and I will need to keep a close eye on the rocket's trajectory.
Aren't you going to see us off?
Just as soon as this is wrapped up,
Return the chair. Kicked over.
Okay, I'll hold you to that. You too, Dr. Magnuson.
Indeed.
Also like this neat graphical effect going on here. You can see the entire plume of smoke from the rocket there.
Gordon, hold up a
Dog,
second.
there you are.
The more I think about that warning from our friend, the more I'm convinced it has to do with Borealis. Don't be deceived. That ship must never be used. You have got to destroy it, whatever the cost.
Where are you two? You're gonna miss it.
Be right there, Alyx. Gordon, thanks for everything you've done. For Alyx, for all of us. I couldn't be prouder if you were my own son. Now, when you get back, we've got a lot to talk about.
Come on.
Eli, Gordon, Alyx, look at the portal.
Alright, so we see the defense system, their resonator, whatever it is, and
This is it.
hopefully it'll work.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
The portal has been neutralized.
Did it.
My rocket.
We did it,
Oh, my
Gordon.
rocket
We
works.
sure as hell did, and not a moment too
I knew it
soon.
would work. I'm a genius.
I'll bet the Combine aren't too happy right now.
You got that right, sweetheart. But we've got plenty to celebrate. I wish you didn't have to head off so soon. If only it weren't so critical.
It's okay, Dad. We'll find Judith and bring her back. Dog? Hey, where are you?
Again, we're reminded of all those various elements introduced. Like we have to go and help Judith. We have to see what this whole Borealis business is about, and continue the story. We're given a lot of tasks, presenting a lot of new story details here.
Well, there she
Keep
is.
that in mind
Gassed up and ready
as
to
we
go.
as we close out here.
Keep in constant contact. We have no idea what to expect.
Don't worry, Dad.
So certainly a lot of story threads have been closed, especially with the portal being shut down, being shot down out of the sky. But there have been new threads introduced, so it makes the fact that
Come on, Gordon.
the story hasn't been continued a little bit kind of a disappointment. I can talk about that more as we
I think so.
reach the end of the game here.
The Borealis coordinates. We'll keep the hailing frequency open on the chopper radio in case Judith tries to reach us again.
Good idea. She could well make another attempt.
Oh no. Dad! Gordon!
Oh boy.
Dad!
Alyx!
Dad! Oh. Get away!
Listen to me. Destroy that ship. Whatever it takes. Destroy it.
Don't! Dad, look out! No! Dad! Dad! God damn it, let go of him! Oh my God!
I love you, sweetheart. Close your eyes, honey.
I love you, Dad!
Don't look.
No! Oh my God! No! No! Gordon! No! Oh God! Dad! Dad, please! Dad! Oh my God! No! No! Oh my God! Dad! No! Don't leave me!
Alright, so we're seeing credits now. We end on a very, very powerful, somber moment there. I think points to a lot of reasons why episode 2 is regarded as like one of the better story moments in the Half-Life series, or especially in the Half-Life 2 side of things, not necessarily going back to Half-Life 1, because Half-Life 1 had its own more grander importance to video games in general. But yeah, Half-Life 2 provides a lot of that closure in the story that episode 1 and even the Half-Life 2, the main game proper doesn't provide. Half-Life 2 provides its own closure, but episode 2, from a story perspective, has brings up a lot more interesting things, and then it resolves a lot of threads. The big battle with the Combine. Half-Life 2 did leave us on a big cliffhanger, and the episodes, at the very least, they gave us a way out of that cliffhanger, and resolves a lot of things from there, into episode 2. But then, of course, episode 2 brings up its own story threads, and I wouldn't necessarily call the death of Eli Vance there a cliffhanger per se. I mean, that's a big, powerful way to close a chapter necessarily, but there are definitely story threads introduced, and at the very least, episode 2, from a story perspective, from a narrative perspective, one of the more powerful and best entries in, or best segments of story in Half-Life 2, because of the way it's able to have its own very well established and very well told arc of events. strong characters and great closure, but also it's able to close out a lot of the hanging threads that we've seen in previous entries in the series from this, from a story perspective. So episode 2 does a lot for Half-Life and Half-Life 2 for story. So I think that's why people consider it like one of the better parts of the series, one of the better entries. And from a gameplay perspective too, it works very well. It works very well because there's a lot of, for one thing, there's a lot of variety. We started out in we start out off of that train. We the wrecked train. We go into the catacombs of the antlion nest, and we see like these really bizarre, more natural, organic environments we haven't really seen before. Exploring that, and then from there, we go to more driving segments and very wide open spaces, dealing with the car, and then of course finally the silo segment, and then the big climactic battle at the end. All those are the big levels that that stand out. But of course, there are a bunch of smaller transitionary levels in between. Right? There's like the helicopter battle, for instance, is one of them. There's there's that trying to weave your way around, that like junkyard of cars to that cannon. Remember, we're trying to keep our heads down from the cannon as we work our way around and take out the combine. There's a lot of those individual levels. There's also like levels like or environments like the bridge area where we're teetering, trying to solve yet another one of those physics puzzles. So the sheer variety of levels in the game is something that that episode 1 did not really give. Episode 1 did essentially one thing and did it pretty well, and that's that episode 1 focused mostly on the various AI characters in the game, particularly not just the enemy AI and the way they work together and interact with each other, but also most notably in Alyx and how you're co-oping with Alyx. That's what episode 1 is focused on. I think as a short experience, it does that very well. Episode 2 is where the real meat of the experience lies, I think. Whereas episode 1 is a one-note type of game. Episode 2 is where it fires on, all the piano keys are hit, or not all of them, but it plays a large melody of things and hits every note very well, I think. So it has not only has a variety of environments and story beats, but also I think it does everything pretty well on top of that. Right, so episode 2 continues that AI experimentation introduced in episode 1 and touched briefly in Half-Life 2, the main game. So you could say that it not only has the best of episode 1, but it has like the best of everything Half-Life 2, but in a more succinct, concise experience. I think maybe the biggest criticism of Half-Life 2 is that sometimes it may be too long for its own good, and sometimes it drags and it feels a little slow. If there's any particular segment that you don't like, then yeah, it can drag. Episode 2 has all the variety and scope of Half-Life 2, but in a much more succinct experience. So if there's anything you don't like in episode 2, which I would find hard to believe, because I in general liked everything about episode 2, at least you're not experiencing that for too long. You're just you're plowing through various things going forward, and at a really nice pacing, as I mentioned before, as I touched upon towards the end, we got a nice rhythm of action, puzzles, and then a more quieter story moment, and we get right back into the action. Sometimes, like, all of a sudden, a nice surprise. So yeah, there's a lot to like about episode 2, and I think it is one of the strongest moments of the series. Of course, like, it isn't brought up a lot in terms of the grander scope of games, because episode 2, it is an episode. It relies a lot on the story that came before it, right? It relies a lot on episode 1. It relies a lot on episode. It relies on a lot on the main Half-Life 2 game, and of course, it arcs back even all the way back to Half-Life, the first game, Half-Life. So, while it does a lot well, I think in the grand scheme of things, and as far as history is concerned, with episode 2. The reason why it isn't brought up a lot is because it rests on the shoulders of giants like Half-Life 2, like Half-Life 1. And it relies on the strengths of those games to be good in and of itself. So you can't really talk about episode 2 without talking about those other games. Even if it might in itself be technically the strongest portion of the entire series, from the perspective of gameplay and story. Because it rests on those shoulders, it can't necessarily be as important. And why, like, say, I might name Half-Life 2 as one of my greatest games of all time, but not necessarily Episode 2, because Episode 2 is linked so heavily to the rest of the series. It doesn't necessarily stand on its own. I think I touched upon this in the beginning. Like, you can't play episode 2 without playing episode 1. It like starts right after the events of the first episode. So, as far even if it might be the strongest part in the series, it can't stand on its own. I think that's probably the Achilles heel of episode 2, is that it doesn't really stand on its own. You really need to experience the previous story elements in order to truly appreciate episode 2. That said, if you are able to experience those story beats, Half-Life 2, Episode 1, and then finally get into Episode 2, then you're in for a treat. I think you get a really strong arc, wild ride with a lot of different experiences that all work very well, and you're rewarded because it closes a lot of those arcs and threads that were left hanging in Episode 1, were left hanging in Half-Life 2. I think, if anything, Episode 2 is great because of that. It answers a lot of those questions. Now, that said, we haven't seen anything from Half-Life, anything from the developers at Valve about continuing the series. I think that's one of the biggest problems going forward, is this whole episodic thing, and Valve, as a developer, in their experiment with the episodic format of gaming, they only were able to make 2 episodes, right? They were only able to make 1 and 2, and that's it. After that, they have made no progress in the story. There was no episode 3. There was no Half-Life 3, at least not yet. Nothing announced. So, we can speak to that, like, as fans, as players of Half-Life 2 or the Half-Life series, one problem is we're left hanging, right? That's after a big, well, we're not necessarily left hanging, but because I think there's a lot of closure in episode 2, but after a big moment like that, after several years pass by, you start to want more. You start to want to explore some of those threads that that episode 2 brings forth. Like, we want to explore what the Borealis means. We want to try and help Judith, right? Those were the things introduced in this particular episode that we were going to go after in any presumable story going forward. And then, of course, there's the big question with the G-Man and what his role is. Like, those are like grander series things that were present since even the first Half-Life. Like, when we're gonna get any clarity on that, who knows? Maybe it won't even be in Half-Life 3, if that ever releases. That's a bigger question. Then, of course, as far as Half-Life 2 is concerned, there's the fight with the Combine and the fate of the world and everything like that. I think as far as the overarching series is concerned, the reasons for Half-Life 3 are there. You want to, get some sort of resolution, some sort of final crushing defeat for maybe the humans versus the Combine. Maybe the humans need to finally beat the Combine, even if we got a big resolving blow to the Combine in episode 2. At least we got that, but there's still more to do with Half-Life, I think, and I think the broader audience, the fans of the series, people who play games would agree with me. And the big question is, when is that gonna continue? I think, as I said, the whole episode thing, the episodic way of storytelling, seems to have failed. Valve has not experimented or continued with any sort of episodic gaming for any other series, as far as I know. It's just been episode 1 and 2, and that's about it. It's all we've seen. So as far as the episodic way of developing games, it seems like a bit of a failure on Valve's part. So I don't think we're going to get any more episodes. And if we're going to get something, it's probably going to be something like a Half-Life 3, a much grander experience. But, that's a big question mark now. Who knows how that's going to go on. I think I discussed earlier on in my playthrough as well. I introduced, there's a lot of reasons why Valve doesn't really have an incentive to continue the Half-Life series, at least for now, because they've experienced such success with their game platform, their storefront in Steam, as well as more multiplayer experiences like, say, Team Fortress 2, Dota 2, and Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Those games have been much greater successes and moneymakers for Valve. On top of Steam, that they don't necessarily need to make a single-player style of experience ever again if they don't want to. But so the success of those games, multiplayer experiences, and the fact that people can continually sustain them for long periods of time because people want to buy. They can't buy content that affects the game itself, but they do buy more aesthetic things. And I personally wouldn't buy that stuff in those multiplayer games, but it has been a very, very successful business for Valve. And over the past years, since like their last big single player game came out, and that would be Portal 2 in 2011, those multiplayer experiences and the money driven by the in-game purchases has been essentially sustaining Valve as a business for a very long period of time. And not to mention, of course, Steam as well. Steam as a storefront could on its own support Valve, and then Valve essentially doesn't even need to make games anymore if they don't want to. But of course, I think I personally still have hope for a continuation of the series, especially considering there are, as far as I know, the staff writers at Valve, the main creative talents, like, say, guys like Eric Wolpaw, Chet Falashek, I think it's called, and Mark Laidlaw. I think they're still with Valve, as far as I know. They haven't left Valve. And you have to wonder what these guys are doing. These guys are writers, right? They're the main strengths. I'm not sure what else they do in the company. They might be skilled programmers as well, but their primary talent is writing. And I think any writer with such a talent, with an ability to create stories that people love, like Half-Life 2, like Portal 2 and Portal, they, in the long term, they want to be satisfied by continuing to make those types of experiences, right? So if they're still at Valve, you have to start to wonder what they're doing, and why the reason is that they haven't left Valve. Maybe Valve eventually will say, like, okay, we're not going to do single player experiences anymore. We're not going to focus on Half-Life as a series. You would think those talents at Valve, the writing talent, would have left, right? They would have said, well, if our talents aren't needed anymore, well, we can take our talents elsewhere. But as far as I know, like, the primary writers on the Half-Life series, as well as Portal, are still with the company. So I think it's just a matter of time before they put their efforts into another big single-player experience. And if anything, that's the reason why I think something like a Half-Life will come out again, and we will continue the story. But, it has a lot to live up to at this point. The longer they wait, the longer, the higher our expectations will be, essentially. So they have their work cut out for them. And I've said Valve doesn't necessarily have an incentive to make those single-player games anymore. So it's like we're in an awkward position for continuing this series. And why am I talking about all this? Is because, well, I think that is important to discuss. Important to any discussion about Episode 2 is the fact that the story ends right here, and a lot rests on Episode 2's shoulders as far as the story of the series, the entire series, is concerned. It has to carry a lot of weight, and I think it does its job. I think there's a lot to say about Episode 2. The fact that I'm glad if there is a last entry in the series, I'm glad it's Episode 2. Essentially, is what I'm saying, because it does that it does have a lot of closure in the series. Something that we can't even say about Half-Life 2. Half-Life 2 did close a lot of threads, but it did leave us hanging about the fate of Gordon, about the fate of Alyx at the top of the Citadel. Everything was paused right then and there as we see the intervention of the G-Man essentially pull us out at a big moment. So, essentially, I'm glad these episodes exist. I would say, I'm glad that we aren't. If we're in this same position and these episodes did not exist, I think I would be a lot more upset that we would have been left hanging at the top of the Citadel at the end of Half-Life 2 than here, with the portal destroyed and a big blow dealt to the Combine and a lot of other story closure moments happening. The death of Eli Vance. I think that is a much better way to close out the series, or at least rest on the series, than what Half-Life 2 offered. So kudos to the Episode 2 for being that strong, resolving chapter in the series. All right, so with that, I think it's pretty clear that I enjoyed Episode 2. Final words. Episode 2 is great. I'm glad it exists. I'm glad it is the last we've seen. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying I'm glad it's the last we've seen of Half-Life. I'm essentially saying if we have to have a last chapter in the series, at least I'm happy that it's Episode 2. I'm happy that we're ended here. Especially considering I have hope for more later on. There is still hope, I think. Alright, so I think I've discussed everything I wanted to discuss about this series. There's again, those are more broader final thoughts. And if you're going to get into any more specific things, anything more specific, we can go back to the individual entries, individual moments in my live playthrough. But I think I've sat here discussing long enough my final thoughts on the game, and I think it's time to move on to something new in my next stream. I'll have to think about what that will be. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't settled on that quite yet, but I will eventually get to that. I will by the next stream. I'll of course have something new to start. All right, so with that I want to say thank you very much for watching. Close it out right here, and if you want to catch up on my playthroughs up until now, you can go to my archives over on my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/YamsterSam. And of course, you can always follow me on Twitter @YamsterSam to find out what's going to happen next, what's what I'm currently doing, comments and whatnot. You know, usual Twitter stuff. And of course, if you happen to be watching this on YouTube and you want to watch me live, then go over to my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/YamsterSam. Follow me there and you'll know right when I go live. Alright, so I'm all out of breath now. I can finally end this series, close out my experience with Half-Life 2, and I'm looking forward to the whatever I end up settling on next. Looking forward to that next game, streaming that. Alright, so see you in the next stream.